It was February 1986 when Margeurite heard the crashing of the window, and she momentarily froze before turning over and giving her husband Jorge a nudge. "What was that noise? Go and have a look," she nervously told him. And with that, he reluctantly huffed and got out of bed, sending Zeus the dog first. As he made his way down the stairs, he could hear voices whispering between themselves. "Find the keys for the Mercedes," one said. "I'll look for a safe," said another. When Jorge placed his right foot on the bottom step, it gave a slight creak, alerting the intruders to his presence. Zeus made a lunge for the closest intruder, sinking his huge white fangs into their thigh and reacting to the taste of the blood in his mouth. He ripped into the leg, removing a big chunk of flesh, and gulped it down in one. Jorge ran across the room towards the second of the intruders and landed a powerful punch square on his jaw, hearing a faint snap. He realized that he'd broken his jaw, and this just seemed to spur him on. He was behaving like a man possessed, until, that is, he was distracted by a loud yelp. As he turned to see Zeus lying in an ever-increasing blood pool, he was struck on the back of the head by something blunt and extremely heavy. As he regained consciousness, Jorge could make out the faint shape of his tearful wife, tied to a large wooden chair from the dining room. He noticed his hands were bound behind his back, using cable ties. He could feel the constant flow of blood running down the back of his neck and the pain from the gaping wound, so deep his skull was visible. As Margeurite sat there staring at her now unrecognizable husband, his huge frame paling into insignificance at the ordeal they now faced together, she sat there helpless as they began to torture Jorge in front of her. First, two of them lifted him off the floor, as the third laid plastic sheeting beneath him. After they placed him down, the third man produced a small, tightly wrapped bundle from his inside jacket pocket and laid it on the nearby table. Next, he proceeded to take out a long, thin, scalpel-like blade and continued to slice Jorge's throat. She tried to look away as the blood spurted from the wound as he took his final breath, but one of them held her and forced her to watch as the life drained from him. As they were leaving, she felt a thud as she hit the floor. She came round looking at the horrific sight of Jorge's bloodbath, and she realized her hands and feet were free, and she shakily dialed the sheriff's office and reported the whole incident to Sheriff Fitzwilliam of the Yazoo County Police. All of Yazoo County were in utter shock at the death of such a popular member of the community. The one thing Margeurite could be slightly thankful for is the lack of autopsy. As she was the resident medical examiner and present at the death, there was no need for one to be carried out. And so Jorge could be laid to rest by the side of his parents in the town cemetery. 2 weeks had passed since Jorge's funeral, and Margeurite was returning to work. She couldn't take the loneliness any longer. It was while working her first case she discovered her gift. She was working the case of a 13-year-old boy who had recently been found hanging feet first from a tree with both his throat and wrists slit, causing him to bleed out quickly. She felt an unusual tightening in her stomach and a shooting pain in her head. She thought it was an after effect of the head trauma she'd suffered. But no, she wasn't that lucky. She could sense a strange presence looming somewhere in the room, but she couldn't quite figure out how she knew or what the presence was. As the hours rolled by, The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and as she prepared to take her break, Margeurite stood and turned towards the door and came face to face with the young boy on her table. She staggered back in disbelief at what she saw. "Hello," said the figure. "My name is Thomas Albright." Frozen to the spot, Margeurite couldn't process what was happening to her. Was her mind playing tricks on her? She couldn't be sure. It was from this moment on she knew her life would change forever, personally and professionally, for this new experience was to become the start of a new chapter for her as the medium M.E. To this day, the murder of Jorge DeSalvo remains unsolved. However, with Marguerite's newfound gift, not for long.